Your job security and your 401k are about to take a hit, and most people don't even see it coming. The biggest trade tax shock in nearly a century is still rolling toward the American economy. The full pain of these massive new tariffs has not hit your wallet yet. Companies have been hiding the damage, but they can't hide it forever. I'm talking about an effective trade tax rate that soared to almost 20%. That is the highest tax rate on imports we have seen since 1933, right in the middle of the Great Depression. This is a five-alarm fire for your money. I'm going to lay out exactly why our economic strength is fake and temporary right now, and I'm going to tell you the real growth forecast for next year. But first, I'll tell you the secret simple trigger the Federal Reserve is watching. If this trigger is pulled, forget rate cuts. They will be forced to hike rates again, crushing your borrowing costs. I'll give you the full details on that devastating Fed flip at the very end. You absolutely need to watch to the final second. Let's talk about why 2025 felt okay. The U.S. economy has been surprisingly tough this year. Last year, the U.S. economy was humming, growing by almost 3%. We thought things were going to crash hard this year. The forecast was ugly, but we beat the expectations. Economists now say U.S. growth will come in around almost 2% this year. That sounds fine, but that resilience is a smokescreen. It came from three temporary boosters that are about to disappear. First, big tech companies dumped tons of money into artificial intelligence gear. That AI investment boom kept activity high. Second, the government poured money into the system, giving us a temporary cushion. Third, and this is the most critical part, companies cheated the clock. They knew those high tariffs were coming, so they rushed goods into the country early. They were stockpiling like crazy. This front-loading temporarily boosted trade and production, making this year look better than it actually was. But those stockpiles are running down fast. They are gone. And here is the punchline. Companies have been absorbing the initial hit. They took a cut to their own profits instead of raising prices on you. They cannot maintain that. Their profit margins are already getting squeezed. The clock runs out on this temporary strength in 2026. Economists are now predicting our growth will drop even further, down to 1.5% next year. That is a major deceleration, and it is a direct cost of these trade taxes. The trade barriers increase the cost of producing everything. They make investment choices scary, which means companies stop building new plants or expanding product lines because they don't know what kind of taxes they will face next. The impact of this policy mess takes time to filter through, but early signs are already flashing red. We are seeing the labor market start to soften, unemployment is ticking up in some sectors, and there are fewer job openings out there. These trade taxes are compounding a few other problems that will hit us hard in 2026. Growth is also expected to slow because of a drop in new immigration, which means fewer new workers for the U.S. economy. Plus, the federal government workforce is being cut back, pulling back on activity. All of this, the disappearing stockpiles, the high tariffs, the job market softening, fewer new workers, is combining to choke American economic growth next year. And remember, the world is tied to the U.S. economy. Globally, things were slightly better than expected this year, holding up at about 3% growth. But that global expansion is also predicted to slow down to almost 3% in 2026. This global slowdown happens precisely because that stockpiling boost stops everywhere and the elevated trade taxes hit world investment and trade. Trade friction is a killer. It makes everyone nervous. Now let's talk about the nightmare scenario, inflation. For a long time, we were seeing prices cool down, but that disinflation process has stalled out. Price pressures are lingering. Food prices are starting to creep back up. Service costs are stuck stubbornly high. And remember that nearly 20% trade tax? As companies use up their cheap inventory and have to pay those high-sky import taxes on new goods, they will have no choice but to pass those costs directly to you. That means higher prices on almost everything you buy. This is the huge threat. If those trade tariffs trigger widespread price increases, it forces the Fed into a corner. The Fed has been planning to be nice. They're expected to cut rates soon because they see the job market weakening. The projection right now is for the Fed to cut rates one more time this year and twice more early next year. They want to make borrowing cheaper to support the slowing economy. But that entire plan rests on inflation staying quiet. Here's the secret trigger the Fed is watching. If inflation spikes because of these tariffs, the plan for rate cuts is immediately dead. If the cost of goods soars because of that almost 20% trade tax, the Fed will be forced to choose between supporting the slowing economy or fighting runaway prices. They will choose to fight inflation. That means they'll hold interest rates higher than anyone expects, keeping mortgage rates, car loans, and credit card debt painfully expensive. And the worst-case scenario? If the economy slows down to 1.5% growth, but inflation keeps rising thanks to the tariffs, the Fed will have to hike rates again. This would combine the highest trade taxes since the Great Depression with higher interest rates and slowing growth. That is the definition of a brutal economic headwind. The full impact of this trade shock is still unfolding. It hasn't fully hit consumer behavior or prices yet, but it is becoming increasingly visible in the labor market. You need to prepare for this shift in momentum. The brief period of fake resilience is ending. Look closely at companies that rely on moving goods across borders. They will feel the squeeze first. Keep your eyes on those prices and stay ready to make moves. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. I'll see you soon.